Hello students, myself Ajay Kumar Srivastav. I am senior faculty at Sri Chaitanya in botany, and in the previous lecture we studied about different types of RNA. So we studied about the rRNA and the mRNA. Today we are going to start with the third type of non-genetic RNA called as tRNA or transfer RNA. So let us start. Transfer RNA or tRNA as it is called, it is very small. It is also called as soluble RNA or sRNA. As you can see, its sedimentation coefficient is only 4s, very small. It is 5% of the total cellular RNA present. Okay? And interesting feature of this RNA is that it has certain unusual nitrogenous bases which is not found in other RNA. So these unusual nitrogenous bases are inosine, pseudouridine, dihydroxyuridine, and even presence of thymine in RNA is also unusual. Okay, so it has certain unusual nitrogenous bases, and certain portion of it shows base pairing also, double stranded base pairing also, certain portions. Now let us see its structure. Its two-dimensional structure was discovered by Robert Hawley. It was for the East alanine tRNA, and it looks like the leaf of clover, hence it is called as clover leaf model. You see it has 5 arms, an acceptor arm to which amino acid is attached, then a T-size arm which helps in binding to the ribosome, then a variable arm, then an anticodon arm that contains anticodon that reads the codon present on mRNA. Then there is a D arm or DHU arm. This arm is required for the recognition of the specific enzyme during the translation process. Okay, and it always ends with G at the 5' end, and at 3' end there is unpaired CCA. Okay, so now as you can see, it is also called as adapter molecule. Why it is called as adapter molecule? Because at one end it has anticodon. With the help of this, it can read the codons on the mRNA, that is the polyribonucleotides, and other end it has amino acid. So it can attach amino acid to the growing polypeptide chain. So it works as a conduit, as a bridge between the polyribonucleotides of mRNA and the polypeptide of the protein. That is why it is called as an adapter molecule. That is why, although there is no direct complementary relationship between the RNA, mRNA and the protein, but any change of nitrogenous base or nucleotide in the mRNA causes change in the amino acid of the protein. That is why tRNA is called as adapter molecule. Now children, this is not the actual structure. In actual structure, it is highly folded and it looks like the inverted L. Okay, you can see this is the actual structure of tRNA, like an inverted L, where you can see the 5' end, 3' end CCA, T-size C loop, and you can see the anticodon loop. So with this we finish all the 3 types of non-genetic RNA. So students, now let us move to the next part of the central dogma of molecular biology, and that is transcription. Okay. Now the transcription is the process in which one of the 2 strands of a DNA is copied to synthesize RNA. Okay. The process of copying genetic information from one strand of DNA into RNA. Now here also the principle of complementarity means the RNA that will be formed, it will be complementary to the template DNA. Okay. So here also the principle of complementarity governs the process, but here the difference is that if in the DNA there is adenine, okay, then opposite to it in the RNA, instead of thymine, uracil will be attached, because you know that in RNA instead of thymine or in place of thymine there is uracil. So if in the template DNA there is A, opposite to it in the RNA instead of thymine, uracil will be incorporated. Clear? There are two major differences between the process of DNA replication and transcription. Let us try to understand this. You see, in case of DNA replication, once the replication starts, entire DNA of the cell is replicated, it is duplicated, because it has to be evenly distributed between two daughter cells. But this is not the case with transcription, as you can see. In transcription, only a specific segment of DNA gets transcribed. This is because, children, remember that all genes are made up of DNA, but all DNA are not genes, and only that DNA is called as gene that can undergo transcription. So, only a specific portion of DNA that has to function as gene, only that transcribes. Entire DNA does not undergo transcription. So, this is the first major difference between DNA replication and transcription. Second difference, see, you saw that during DNA replication, both the strands of the parental DNA, they functioned as template. On both of them, new strands of DNA were synthesized, but this is not the case during transcription. During transcription, only one of the two strands of DNA is copied, the other strand does not participate in the process. So, transcription of only one of the two strands of DNA takes place. This is the another difference. Now, the question arises, why only one of the two strands of DNA participates in transcription? Now, there are two simple reasons to explain this. First, remember the RNA, the two RNA that will be produced by the two strands, if both undergo transcription, these two RNA will be complementary and not similar. They will be complementary, not similar. It means if these two RNA go for translation, they will produce two different proteins with different sequence of amino acids. It means same segment or DNA or same gene coding for two different proteins. So, this will complicate and confuse the genetic information. To avoid this, only one of the two strands participates. And second reason, see, if both strands of DNA simultaneously undergo transcription, then what will happen? The two RNA will be produced simultaneously, and these two RNA, as we said, they are complementary. So, they will undergo complementary base pairing, resulting in double stranded RNA. And if double stranded RNA is formed, there will be no translation at all. So, even the process of transcription will become useless or futile. So, to avoid this, only one of the two strands of DNA participate in the process of transcription. Okay? Now, we said that only a specific portion of the DNA participate in the process of transcription. It means that a particular unit is participating in transcription, hence it is called as transcription unit. And this transcription unit consists of three parts. First, a promoter, second, the structural gene, and third, a terminator. Now, coming to the structural gene, that portion of the gene or transcription unit that is actually copied to synthesize the complementary RNA is called as the structural gene. Okay. Now, this structural gene consists of two strands because DNA is double stranded, but we have said that only one of the two strands participate in the process of transcription. Now, the enzyme involved in transcription is called as RNA polymerase. It is a DNA dependent RNA polymerase. This enzyme polymerizes, listen very carefully, this enzyme polymerizes RNA only in 5' end to 3' end direction. It means the template DNA should have the orientation 3' end to 5' end direction. Okay. That is why this strand is called as the template strand. So, that strand of the structural gene that has 3' end to 5' end polarity, that is called as the template strand, and actual copying of this strand takes place. The other strand which does not participate in the transcription process, at the time of transcription it is displaced this strand is called as coding strand, okay, although it is not participating in the process of transcription. Okay. Next thing is that the structural gene is flanked by two other things, because you see, you said that entire DNA is not participating in the process of transcription. Suppose if this portion is participating in transcription, then you have to demarcate two things, a start point and a end point, and this will be the total unit. Okay. So that is why the structural gene, it is flanked by, flanking means both sides present, by a promoter on one side and the terminator on the other side. Okay. Now, you see all the references of direction are taken from the promoter. Remember, all the references of direction are taken from. Now, as I said, the structural gene has a template strand and a coding strand. Very important point, children, remember, all the references of direction are taken from the coding strand. So, all the references of direction are taken from the coding strand. Now, the another components of the transcription unit are promoter and terminator. Okay. It means the structural gene has promoter on one side and terminator on the other side. This is called as flanking. Present on both sides is called as flanking. So, we say that the structural gene is flanked by the promoter and the terminator. Okay. And we said that all the reference of direction we take from the coding strand. So, promoter is present towards the 5' end. Remember, promoter is present towards the 5' end, and the RNA polymerase enzyme binds to the promoter for the initiation of the transcription, while the terminator is present towards the 3' end, because we are taking all the references of direction from the coding strand. So, the terminator is present towards the 3' end, and the terminator marks the termination of the transcription process. Next thing, children, remember that there are two things. If we move towards the 5' end of the coding strand, we say upstream, and we move towards the 3' end of the coding strand, then we say downstream. Okay. So, we can say that promoter is present upstream while the terminator is present towards the downstream. Clear? Next point. It is the presence of the promoter that also defines the coding and the template strand. It is the presence of the promoter that also defines the coding and the template strand. Why I am saying this? Because if we swap the position of promoter and terminator, if promoter comes here and terminator comes here, then the reference of coding strand and template strand will also change, because as I said, promoter is always present towards the 5' end of the coding strand. So, then this strand will become coding strand and this strand will become template strand. So, with this we finish the transcription. Now, students, next very important thing, transcription unit and the gene. Okay, let us try to understand this. We say that genes are made up of DNA. Okay, but only that DNA is called gene that can undergo transcription to produce RNA. It means all genes are DNA, but all DNA are not genes. Only that portion of DNA is gene that can undergo transcription to produce RNA. Now, let us see the another thing. Okay. Now, a gene transcription. Now, by transcription, it can either produce tRNA or it can produce rRNA or it can produce mRNA. Okay. So, either any of these, it is a gene if it is undergoing transcription, but only this will produce polypeptide. Only this will produce polypeptide. So, such genes that code for polypeptide are called as cistron. So, remember, all genes are not cistrons. Only those genes are cistrons that code for polypeptide. So, here we come to another thing, that all cistrons are genes, but all genes are not cistrons. Only those genes are cistrons that can undergo polypeptide synthesis. So, 2 points I am saying, all genes are DNA, but all DNA are not genes. Second, all cistrons are genes, but all genes are not cistrons. Only that gene is cistron that can synthesize a polypeptide. Now, another thing, please see. See, another thing that we are going to do, polycistronic. You see, in bacteria or prokaryotes, usually what happens, that more than one structural genes are present together and they have a common promoter and terminator. Okay. So, when transcription takes place, the mRNA that is produced, it is product of more than one cistrons. You can see here, it is product of more than one cistron. Such mRNA is called as polycistronic mRNA because it is a common product of more than one cistrons. This is generally found in prokaryotes or bacteria. Now, on the contrary to this, monocistronic. See, if this is the promoter, this is the terminator. If the mRNA is product of only one cistron, then it is called as monocistronic, and this is mostly found in eukaryotes. Okay? So, this is the difference between polycistronic and monocistronic. Now, children, apart from these, there are certain other units also present either upstream or downstream, and some of them are called as the regulatory genes. Okay, so they also influence the inheritance of characters. Now, another requirement for transcription is the enzyme RNA polymerase. Okay, it is a DNA dependent RNA polymerase because it uses one of the strands of DNA as a template and it polymerizes RNA. So, it is called DNA dependent RNA polymerase. And remember, it can perform polymerization only in 5' end to 3' end direction. It means the template should always be in 3' end to 5' end direction. Now, in prokaryotes or bacteria, when we say prokaryotes, we mean bacteria. In prokaryotes or bacteria, there is only one type of RNA polymerase, single RNA polymerase, but it can transcribe all the 3 types of non-genetic RNA, that is mRNA, tRNA and rRNA. Okay? So, for all, it uses ribonucleoside triphosphates as substrate, and remember, during DNA replication the substrate used was deoxyribonucleoside triphosphates. Okay. One more difference is that during DNA replication, a specific enzyme helicase is required to unwind the two strands. Here, the same enzyme RNA polymerase, along with polymerizing the DNA, it also has the ability to somehow causing opening of the double helix of the DNA. Okay. Now another thing is that this RNA polymerase enzyme, which we generally call as the core enzyme, it can only elongate the process. Alone it can neither initiate transcription nor it can terminate transcription. So, when it has to initiate transcription, it transiently associates with a factor called as sigma factor or initiation factor. Okay. Then it, along with sigma factor, it attaches to the promoter to initiate the transcription process. Once the transcription starts, the sigma factor is dissociated. That is why we are saying it is a transient association. And when the RNA polymerase enzyme reaches the terminator, now transcription has to be terminated, then it binds to another factor called as the Rho factor. Since Rho factor is helping in termination, it is also called as termination factor. So, then the transcription terminates when it reaches the terminator. Okay. Now, let us see the RNA polymerases of eukaryotes. You saw that in prokaryotes, there is only one type of RNA polymerase that transcribes all the different types of RNA. But this is not the case in eukaryotes. As you can see, eukaryotes, it shows a clear-cut division of labor, means for synthesizing different types of RNA, there are different RNA polymerases. RNA polymerase first, it transcribes 28S ribosomal RNA, 18S rRNA and 5.8S rRNA. We have already studied about all these different types of RNA when we were studying types of RNA. It means RNA polymerase 1 does not transcribe the 5S rRNA in case of eukaryotes. It is transcribed by some other RNA polymerase. All other rRNA it transcribes. Okay. Next, RNA polymerase second, it transcribes hnRNA, heterogeneous nuclear RNA, which is the precursor of mRNA. Now, students, we will discuss in details, but here I just want to tell you that in eukaryotes directly mRNA is not produced. In eukaryotes initially a long RNA is produced which is called as the hnRNA, heterogeneous nuclear RNA. It has certain portions called as introns and other called as exons. Okay. Now, there is a process called splicing. In the splicing process, the introns are removed and the exons are joined, and this final product is called as the mRNA. It means hnRNA is the precursor of mRNA in case of eukaryotes. Okay. This is RNA polymerase second. Now, RNA polymerase third, it transcribes the 5S rRNA. Remember that RNA polymerase first was not transcribing the 5S rRNA. So, this 5S rRNA is synthesized by RNA polymerase third. Apart from that, it synthesizes the transfer RNA, tRNA, and it also transcribes snRNA, small nuclear RNA. I just now told you a process of splicing takes place. For that splicing, this snRNA is required for removal of the introns from the hnRNA. So, you can see a clear-cut division of labor here, three different types of RNA polymerases, okay, for synthesizing different types of RNA. Now, one more thing I want to tell you, that during initiation, the prokaryotic or bacterial RNA polymerase requires a single thing, that is the sigma factor. But in eukaryotes, many transcriptional factors are required to initiate the process of transcription, and the most important among them is the TF2D, transcriptional factor 2D. So, with this we have finished the enzyme polymerase, RNA polymerase enzyme of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So, students, we have seen the various requirements for the transcription process. We require a transcription unit, then we require a DNA dependent RNA polymerase enzyme, and we require ribonucleoside triphosphates as the substrate, and of course they will also function as the energy source. Okay, it will be ATP, UTP, CTP and GTP. Okay. Now, before coming to the end of this lecture, let us do one question, and this question was asked in the year 2014. Let us see. Okay. Select the correct option. Now, here in the first column we have the direction of RNA synthesis, in which direction RNA is being synthesized, and in the second column we have the direction of reading of the template DNA strand. Okay, in which direction the DNA template is read. We said that always the template is read in 3' end to 5' end direction. Okay, so either this or this could be the answer. But we said that the RNA polymerase enzyme always polymerizes in 5' end to 3' end direction. So, here you can see direction of RNA synthesis is 5' end to 3' end, and the direction of the reading of DNA is 3' end to 5' end. It means option number 2 is our answer. So, students, with this we come to the end of today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will be discussing the different steps in the process of transcription, and then what are the additional complications in case of eukaryotes. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.